I know a lot of you out there used to hate Brussels sprouts because in the old days they were boiled for so long and they were mushy and not pleasant. Not anymore. I'm going to show you how to make the most amazing roasted Brussels sprout recipe. Have a look at these Brussels sprouts. This is a new variety called Red Darlings. Even though they're purple, they have a fantastic flavour. They're nutty, they're sweet, and they're not too bitter. I'm going to leave them whole for this roasting, but before we get onto these, let's get onto this really delicious butter that is going to take these to the next level. Into a saucepan, I'll add some butter, and what I'm going to do is burn this butter, or call it a nutty butter. In French, we call this beurre noisette. And what is going to happen is we're going to melt the butter. You'll notice that it'll become really, really frothy, and then the foam will start to subside. Now, once all these bubbles start to subside, you'll see the milk solids down the bottom start to change colour and almost caramelise. That's where you need to be really careful, because we do want that nutty flavour, not a burnt bitter flavour. And you'll know it's starting to become caramelised when it starts to smell like hazelnuts. So we'll keep an eye on that. While that's happening, we can prepare our vegetables. So just a little bit of onion. This is just some Spanish onion, and I'm going to cut that into small wedges, so cutting it maybe into 5 pieces. I'm actually leaving the root on the onion there because I want it to hold its shape. If a little bit breaks up, that's completely fine. And we'll do that for the next one. So into small wedges for everyone to have a piece. The Brussels sprouts, what I've just done is just trimmed the base of the Brussels sprout, but you don't want to trim it too much because then all these beautiful little leaves will come off, and we want it to stay intact. Now, these are so fresh, and you can see that they're fresh because they're firm, they're tight-leaved, and there's not too many blemishes on the vegetable. So in whole. We'll give them a toss, and look at that gorgeous colour. You know that this is going to taste so nice just because it's so visually appealing. Now, this is a really interesting ingredient that I'm going to add. It's a nashi pear. I love roasting nashi pear. It's got so much flavour, and it also holds its shape. I'm going to prepare this now, but I'm not going to add it into the roasting tin at the moment. I'm going to give the Brussels sprouts and the onion a bit of a head start and then add this at the last minute. Because it's a fruit and there's a lot of sugar in it, it doesn't need that long to cook in the oven, or else it'll burn and it'll soften too much too. So I'm just taking the core out of the nashi pear. If you can't find nashi pear, all you need to use is just a beurre bosque pear or any good cooking pear. So cut them into wedges, roughly around the same size as the Brussels sprouts. And then I'll place them into this bowl so they're ready to go halfway through the cooking process. Okay, now it's time to go back to the butter because I can smell that hazelnut smell, and see all of those bubbles have subsided. That's the time to take it off the heat. See how it's a little bit golden down the bottom too? That's absolutely perfect, because as soon as you take it off the heat, it's going to continue cooking. But that smell, I wish you could smell it, but you can't, is just heaven for me. That just on a little bit of fish, or like we're doing here, vegetables, just really heightens other flavours. All right, now I'm going to add some miso, and I'm just going to whisk this in. So a nice amount of miso. Now, miso is one of those wonderful ingredients that we all should have in the fridge. Now, whisking that in until it completely dissolves, and then to really balance out the saltiness of this miso paste, I'll add some honey. In with the honey. Now, when it comes to miso paste, there are so many different varieties. You can use a red miso paste, which is quite strong, or a white miso paste, which is what I've used. I like the white miso paste because it's quite mellow, and it does suit that mellowness of the butter too. So a fantastic mix. And now I love to add just a small amount of soy sauce. You don't need too much, just a little dribble. Whisk that in. I'm going to have a taste now. Just be careful though, because that butter is a little bit hot. And it will split a little bit, but that's okay. Oh, that in itself is just so yummy. Now what I'm going to do is just pour this delicious, sweet and salty butter over our vegetables, leaving a little bit behind. And then if that butter's not too hot, mine's okay because it's cooled down a little bit, use your hands just to coat all of the individual little red darling Brussels sprouts, coating everything there, including the onion. Now my oven is preheated to 180 degrees, so this is going to go in for about 15 to 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I'll add the nashi pear and the remaining miso butter and then cook it for another 5 to 10 minutes or until everything is caramelized. Have a look at these gorgeous Brussels sprouts. They're glistening, they've caramelized a lot. Always make sure that you give them a bit of a toss when they're in the oven, just to make sure that they caramelize evenly so there's not any hot spots. And also there is a little bit of honey in there, so it can burn. So keep an eye on them, and then your vegetables will look like that after 25 to 30 minutes. These vegetables are fantastic with a roast chook, some simple grilled fish too. I love them so much, I don't even think about boiling Brussels sprouts anymore. Roasting Brussels sprouts are the way to go.